The checkpoint at Sector 7 had processed thousands of species over the past decade, but Guard Commander Vexthor had never saluted anyone before they reached his desk. Today would be different. Katniss walked through the crystalline corridors of the Coalition station with her usual unhurried pace, her boots making soft thuds against the polymer floor. Behind her, 3 Zarathian cubs padded silently, their obsidian scales catching the artificial light. Each cub was the size of a full-grown earth wolf, with razor-sharp claws that could slice through reinforced steel and fangs that dripped with paralytic venom. To anyone else in the galaxy, this sight would inspire immediate terror. The Zarathians were apex predators from a death world even harsher than Earth. A planet where survival meant evolution had carved them into perfect killing machines. Their adults stood 3 meters tall and were known to hunt, starships for sport. But these cubs followed Katniss like puppies, followed their mother, Casper. Noticed them first from his position near the docking bay. He'd been supervising cargo transfers when he spotted the unusual procession. His hand instinctively moved toward his plasma sidearm before his brain caught up with his eyes. He recognized that confident stride. "Cat!" he called out, jogging to catch up. Why are there, what happened?" Katniss glanced back at him with that infuriatingly calm expression she always wore, even when chaos erupted around her. "Found them in the debris field near Kepler 442. Their mother's ship was destroyed. They're orphans now." The largest cub, whose scales bore a distinctive crimson pattern, growled low at Casper's approach. Katniss merely snapped her fingers once. The cub fell silent immediately and sat, its tail curling around its haunches. Casper stared. "You tamed Zarathian predators by snapping your fingers." "I didn't tame them," Katniss corrected, reaching down to scratch behind the crimson cub's eye ridge. The creature's growl transformed into something resembling a purr. "I just showed them respect. And I fed them. Humans understand something most species don't. Predators aren't evil. They're just survivors." As they approached the checkpoint, station personnel scattered. A Glorian merchant dropped its cargo container and fled down a side corridor. 2 Centaurian diplomats pressed themselves against the walls, their translator devices chattering panicked warnings. Guard Commander Vexthor was different. The massive Krellian stood at his post, his forearms crossed over his armored chest. His species had evolved from herd animals, and every instinct in his genetic code screamed at him to run from the approaching predators. But Vexthor had served with humans during the Frontier Wars. He'd watched them do impossible things. He'd watched them turn enemies into allies through sheer stubborn compassion. As Katniss approached with her deadly entourage, Vexthor made a decision that would be discussed in Coalition command circles for years. He straightened to full attention, brought his primary right arm to his chest in the formal Coalition salute, and held it. He wasn't saluting Katniss, he was saluting the cubs. Katniss stopped, genuinely surprised. Behind her, the 3 Zarathian cubs sat in perfect formation, their intelligent eyes fixed on the guard commander. "Commander," Katniss said carefully, "these cubs need temporary sanctuary. Their species embassy won't respond to hails, and I won't leave them to die in space." Vexthor lowered his salute but maintained his posture. "The regulations are clear, Specialist Katniss. Zarathians are classified as Class A lethal entities. They cannot be brought aboard Coalition stations without proper containment and diplomatic clearance." Casper moved to stand beside Katniss, his hand hovering near his sidearm, not in threat, but in solidarity. "Commander, with respect, those regulations were written for adults. These are children. The law does not distinguish," Vexthor began. The crimson-scaled cub suddenly stood and walked forward, stopping just before the checkpoint barrier. It looked up at Vexthor with eyes that held far too much intelligence for a creature supposedly driven by base instinct. Then slowly and deliberately the cub extended one massive paw. The station fell silent. Even the ambient hum of the life support system seemed to fade. Vexthor looked at the offered paw. He thought of his own younglings back on his home world. He thought of the human who had once saved his unit by walking into enemy territory unarmed, offering peace to warriors who knew only war. Humans, he had learned, didn't see the galaxy as it was. They saw it as it could be. The guard commander reached down with his primary hand and gently clasped the cub's paw. "Emergency sanctuary granted under Article 47, Subsection 12, Protection of juveniles regardless of species classification. He stepped aside and deactivated the checkpoint barrier. Katniss exhaled a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "Thank you, Commander." Vex Thor's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was the Krellian equivalent of a smile. "I served with your people in the war, Specialist. I learned then that humans have an unusual gift. You look at predators and see potential friends. You look at enemies and see future allies. Most species in the galaxy think you're insane." "And what do you think?" Casper asked. "I think," Vex Thor said, watching the three cubs follow Katniss through the checkpoint with perfect discipline, "that the galaxy is lucky humans found their way to the stars. Where we see monsters, you see orphans who need help. That kind of perspective changes everything." As the unusual group moved deeper into the station, other guards and personnel emerged from their hiding spots. They watched in amazement as three of the galaxy's most feared predators followed a single human woman, not because she dominated them, but because she had shown them kindness when the rest of the universe only offered fear. Casper walked beside Katniss, shaking his head in disbelief. "One day you're going to tell me how you actually do this." Katniss smiled slightly, her hand resting on the Crimson Cub's head. "It's simple, really. Every predator in the galaxy understands strength, but humans understand something more important. We understand that true strength is knowing when not to use it. We know that family isn't always about blood or species." Behind them, Guard Commander Vex Thor watched them go. Then he turned to his subordinates and spoke words that would become part of station legend. "Let it be recorded. Today I saluted the future. Because if humans can teach Zarathian predators to trust, perhaps there's hope for the rest of us yet." The cubs had followed a human into the checkpoint. The guard had saluted them first, and somewhere in the vast complexity of galactic politics and ancient prejudices, something small but significant had shifted. Fear had taken a step back. Hope had taken a step forward, all because one human refused to see monsters where others only saw teeth and claws. And